The ravens came at dusk, when the sky above the wall was the bruised color of a fading wound and the air tasted of iron. Jon Snow stood on the windswept walkway beside the east tower, his gloved hands resting on the frozen stone, Ghost motionless at his side. Below, Castle Black lay in shadow, a scatter of low roofs and smoking chimneys pressed tight against the looming mass of the wall. Beyond, the haunted forest spread like a dark sea. "One day," Gren muttered, chafing his hands together, "we'll freeze solid up here. They'll find us in 1,000 years, still standing, looking south." Jon did not answer him. His eyes were fixed on the black shapes circling high above, cawing harshly as they spiraled down toward the rookery. Ravens meant news, and news from the south had been nothing but grief since his father had ridden to King's Landing. He thought of Lord Eddard's stern face, the quiet strength in it, the way his father's hand had rested on his shoulder the day he'd ridden north to take the Black. "You are a Stark of Winterfell," he had said. "You may not bear my name, but you have my blood." Jon had carried those words into the cold with him, like a piece of warmth in his breast. Of late, even that warmth had dimmed. Ghost's white ears pricked. The direwolf's red eyes flicked toward the rookery. The ravens had settled on the maester's tower now, a restless churning of black wings. "Sam'll know what they bring," Gren said. "You coming?" "In a moment," Jon said. He watched the birds a while longer, feeling the wall beneath his boots, the old ice humming faintly with secrets and memories. The world beyond seemed vast and indifferent, the world to the south distant and unreachable. Somewhere below that distant horizon, his father was playing the Game of Thrones with lions and snakes and men who smiled with empty eyes. Jon turned away at last and went down the steep wooden steps, Ghost gliding silently at his heels. In the rookery, the air was thick with feathers, droppings, and the dry rustle of wings. Maester Aemon sat hunched beside a table strewn with scrolls, his clouded eyes turned toward the light of a guttering candle. Samwell Tarly hovered nearby, anxious and round-faced, ink staining his fingers. "Jon," Sam said, relief softening his plump features. "I was going to send for you." A raven came from the south, from King's Landing. Jon's heart lurched. "My father." Maester Aemon's blind gaze turned toward the sound of his voice. "Come closer, Jon Snow." Jon moved to the table. Ghost slid between him and the door, as if to bar his retreat. Aemon's hands were thin and trembled as he felt for the parchment. Sam guided his fingers. The seal had been broken. The wax, once impressed with a stag and a lion together, lay in red shards on the table. "It is not Lord Eddard who writes," Aemon said quietly. "Listen, and remember that ravens do not bring kindness, only truth." His voice was soft and slow as he read, but the words struck like blows. "Lord Eddard Stark, formerly Hand of the King, now attainted of treason and convicted by his own confession, has been sentenced to death by His Grace King Joffrey of Houses Baratheon and Lannister, first of his name." The world narrowed to the old man's voice. Jon heard the rest as if through water. The confession, the charge of treason, the sword on the steps of Baelor September, the heads on spikes, the traitor's blood staining the stones of the Capitol. He saw it anyway. His father kneeling, the crowd baying, the boy king's chin lifted and proud, that pale southern sword flashing in the sun. Ice, he thought wildly as his stomach rolled. Where is Ice? Who carries it? Who speaks for you now? "Robb," he said hoarsely. "Robb will call the banners. He'll ride south. There is more," Aemon said. Sam's voice was shaking so badly he had to clear his throat. "Letters have come from the Riverlands as well. The banners were called. Lord Robb has ridden south with many of your father's bannermen. There has been battle. Victories, they say. The young wolf, they're calling him. Victories." The words should have lifted him, but they fell heavy as lead. "Robb," Jon whispered. "Your brother is now declared king in the north," Maester Aemon said. "The lords of the north and some of the Riverlands have raised him up and cast off their oaths to the Iron Throne. The realm shatters. It is as it was in my youth, only with different names. King in the North. Jon's fingers curled into fists. He saw Robb as he had been the last time he'd laid eyes on him, standing in Winterfell's yard in his brigandine and mail, gray wind at his side, laughing and fierce. A boy trying on a man's armor. Now they call him King. The room felt suddenly closer, the air thick. Ghost's fur brushed his leg. He could feel the direwolf's tension, as if the animal read the storm rising in him. "Thank you, Maester." Jon's voice sounded wrong to his own ears. He turned on his heel and left without waiting for dismissal. "Jon!" Sam's voice chased him down the stair. "Jon, where are you going?" He did not answer. The words pounded in his head as he strode through the yard, past the smithy with its clang and sparks, past the sept where the septon's droning prayers drifted like smoke, past the common hall where the smell of stew and beer turned his stomach. King in the North, father dead, head on a spike, Robb with the lords of the North around him, swords aloft, calling him king, while Jon stood on a frozen wall of forgotten men and watched crows. A black heat rose in him, not unlike the hot rage that had taken him the day he'd fought with Alliser Thorne's pets in the yard. Then it had been the word bastard, hissed like a knife. Now it was traitor, oath, duty, brother. He found himself at the door of his cell without remembering how he'd gotten there. The space was small and cold, the straw pallet neatly made, his few possessions stowed, his sword L. Onclaw rested in its scabbard against the wall, Bear's head pommeled dark in the dim light. He stared at it. He remembered the feel of Jeor Mormont's hand on his shoulder, the weight of the blade when the old bear had laid it across his palms. "A sword for a service, boy. You saved my life, and the realm will need that life yet." The realm? Which realm? The one that cut his father's head off while the crowd screamed its approval? The one that had turned his family name into a curse? Ghost paced the narrow space, the tip of his tail twitching. "You took the oath," Jon whispered to the emptiness. I swore before the old gods and the new." But in his mind he saw the godswood of Winterfell, the red leaves whispering above the still pool, the heart tree's pale face weeping sap. He heard his father's voice again, low and steady. "The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword." The words of the oath had not been Ned Stark's, but Jon had spoken them believing his father's world could still exist in this one. "Robb needs me," he said. "Bran and Rickon, Sansa, they were only names if he stayed here. Names and ghosts." He moved before he'd fully decided to move, his body acting on some deeper will that had taken root in him long before he'd come to the wall. He pulled his cloak from its peg, the black wool heavy with the cold and the smell of smoke. He shrugged into it with quick, hard motions, buckled his sword belt tight around his waist, slung his small pack over his shoulder. Food, a water skin, a whetstone, a spare pair of gloves. It would not be enough. He did not care. Ghost's ears pricked, and the direwolf came to stand before him, blocking the door with his white bulk. "I know," Jon said softly, resting a hand between the beast's ears. Ghost's fur was thick and warm under his glove. "I know." It was treason. It was death. It was abandoning an oath sworn with his own blood. It was going home. By the time they missed him, he would be beyond the gate, out on the King's Road, riding south with Ghost running silent at his side. There would be pursuit. There would be no turning back. Jon blew out the candle and stepped into the dark. They found the empty cell at dawn. The road south lay hard and narrow, a pale ribbon cut through the endless trees. Jon's horse, a rangy brown gelding he'd taken from the Castle Black stables in the dead of night, steamed in the cold as its hooves beat the frozen ground. Ghost loped ahead and to one side, a white shadow slipping between the trees. By day, the weak winter sun lay like dull metal over the world, narrow shafts of light piercing the branches to draw bars across the road. At night the forest closed in, all creaking limbs and the distant howl of wolves. Jon slept in his cloak, sword close, Ghost a warm, silent presence at his back. He did not count the days. The wall receded, the north unfolded. His thoughts circled like crows, always returning to the same places. His father's last moments. Robb with a crown he had not asked for. Bran in his bed, legs unmoving under the blankets. Rickon clinging to Shaggy Dog's black fur. Sansa lost in the lion's den. He thought two of the words he'd spoken with his hand upon the weirwood. Night gathers, and now my watch begins. He had meant them. Each syllable had been a stone set into a wall in his chest. Something solid and unyielding. The wall had cracked. You can go back, he told himself on the third night, staring up at a slice of cloudy sky through the tree branches. You can turn your horse around. Mormont will be furious, but he is not a cruel man. They might allow some mercy. For your father. For... Ghost snorted softly, as if in contempt. Even if he did, the knowledge would still sit in his bones like cold iron. Robb riding south to war without him. Winterfell empty of strong swords, save Ser Roderick's old arm. The North was a great beast with its head plunged into southern wars and its belly exposed. Someone had to guard it. Someone of Stark blood. Bastard's blood, a harsher voice said. Bastard's blood and a broken oath. The words were true. They did not help. On the fifth night, he woke to Ghost standing stiffly over him. Hackles raised, teeth bared. Jon was on his feet before he was fully awake. Longclaw sliding free with a whisper. "Who's there?" he called into the dark. "Easy, boy." The voice that came back was low, edged with humor and old iron both. A massive man stepped into the dying firelight, snow crusted on his boots and beard, a long spear resting easy in one big hand. He wore furs over boiled leather, and the shadow of an enormous sword was strapped across his back. "Else I'll have to explain to your father that his bastard tried to gut me in the woods." Jon froze. For a heartbeat the firelight and shadow played tricks, and he thought, "Uncle Benjen?" he breathed. The first ranger's face was leaner than he remembered, the eyes more lined at the corners, but the smile was the same, wry and sharp as a blade. "So you do still remember me? That's a comfort." Ghost's growl faded to a low rumble, though the direwolf did not wholly relax. Jon sheathed his sword slowly. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "You've been gone for longer than I intended," Benjen Stark said, voice dry. He moved around the little camp with easy familiarity, crouched, and poked at the embers with the butt of his spear. Sparks leapt. "You were meant to wait at the wall, if memory serves. Sworn brother of the Night's Watch now, are you not?" Shame and anger fought in Jon's throat. "You know what's happened," he said. "My ravens tell me much," Benjen said. "Crows bring word from Castle Black, from Winterfell, from places I've no business being and yet find myself near. Word of Lord Eddard's death. Word of a boy king with a cruel streak. Word of Robb Stark, marching south with the North at his back." He glanced up, his gaze flicking to the black cloak bundled beside. Jon's bedroll, and word of a certain boy running the wrong way down the King's Road. Jon flushed. "My family does not free you from vows?" Benjen cut in. The words were not sharp, but they were unyielding. "When you took the Black, you gave up Winterfell. You knew that." "They killed him," Jon said. The words came out harsh. "They killed my father, the man who told me what honor was, and they did it in the name of a king who was never taught the meaning of the word. Robb needs men he can trust at his back. Winterfell has men," Benjen said. "Ser Roderick Castle is no boy. There are garrisons in the holdfasts, seasoned men in the mountain keeps. There are Starks in Winterfell yet. Bran and Rickon. They are children," Jon snapped. "So were you a year ago," Benjen said. "Maybe you still are." The words stung. Jon looked away, jaw tight. "If you ride on," Benjen continued more quietly, "you will be branded Oathbreaker. Every man of the Watch will be bound to see you hanged or be a traitor himself. That is not a light thing, Jon. Not for you, not for any who might shelter you." Jon's hand closed around Longclaw's pommel. "Do you mean to take me back yourself, then?" Benjen's eyes, so like Ned Stark's, held his. If I meant to take you, you'd already be tied across my saddle, he said. I came because the forest whispers, and because blood is blood, and the North does not have so much Stark blood left that it can afford to waste any. Something in his tone shifted. Jon felt it, the way he had felt shifts in his father's voice when business turned from household matters to war. What have you heard? Jon asked slowly. Benjen sat back on his heels. The fire had found new life. Orange light played over his face, hollowing the cheeks, casting his eyes in shadow. The king in the south plays his game, he said. So do his mother and the men around him. But there are other games, older and colder. The wildlings stir. Mance Rayder is gathering them, they say. Enough to shake the wall. There are things moving in the woods that do not leave the right kind of footprints. He looked past Jon to Ghost. The dire wolves were a sign. I told your brother that, and your father felt it too. The old powers wake. Jon remembered the dead man in the Lord Commander's chamber. Blue eyes opening in the dark. Ice-cold hands clutching for Mormont's throat. He felt the old chill creep up his spine. All the more reason for me to be there when the dead walk, he said. And leave the living to curse your name? Benjen gave a soft huff of breath. You are not as different from Eddard as you think. My father would never have stayed on the wall while his son went to war alone, Jon said. No, Benjen allowed. He would not. He also would not have broken his word once given. And he would not have forgotten that the North has more enemies than the Southron lords and their soft steel. He leaned closer. Listen to me, Jon. The wall holds a long time still, with or without you. The wars of kings flare and fade in the south. It is the way of them. But the North is more than Winterfell stone, more than banners and names. It is the wall and the lands beyond, and the memories beneath the snow. One day soon, all those things will be tested, and the men who stand where you swore to stand will matter more than any boy king's war. The words should have steadied him. Instead, they splintered him further. If I go back, Jon said, I cannot fight for them. For my father's name, for Robb, for your brothers, Benjen said quietly. You might do more good at the wall than anywhere else. The Watch is not blind. Ravens fly both ways. When the Northman needs a refuge, where do you think he will look? When some king in the south tightens a noose around a Stark's neck, what road will he take to slip it? I am not my father, Jon said. I am his bastard. Just so. Benjen's mouth twitched. You get to choose what that means. Silence fell, save for the pop of sap in the burning wood. I did not come to drag you back, Benjen said at last. If I tried, you'd hate me for it, and I have enough men who hate me already. I came to tell you two things. He held up two gloved fingers. First, if you ride south now, you will not find the North as you remember it. War changes men, changes lords. Some will look to Robb, some will look to themselves, and some will look to any Stark they can find in reach. The firelight flared, painting Jon's bastard features in stark light and deep shadow. And second, Jon asked, though he thought he already knew. Benjen's gaze did not waver. The North will need every Stark it can get, he said. At the wall, in Winterfell, in the wild woods and the lonely keeps. If you are determined to ride on, then ride with your eyes open. Do not pretend you can be just one thing anymore. Not Crow, not Stark, not Bastard. You will be all of them, and you will be hated for each. Jon swallowed. What would you do? He asked, hating the plea in his own voice. Me? Benjen gave a short, humorless laugh. I do as my vows demand, because I have already buried too much Stark blood to think I'm special. He rose, the motion fluid despite the weight of sword and spear. But I'm not the one the ravens whisper about when they cross the haunted forest. What do they whisper? Jon asked. Benjen glanced up, as if he could see the distant, circling birds through the trees. That a white wolf runs with a dark one at his heels, he said. That the old blood stirs, that the snow will choose his place. He looked back down. You've chosen it already by leaving. Don't lie to yourself about that. He turned then, and for a heartbeat Jon thought he would simply vanish into the trees as silently as he had come. "Uncle," he said, the word thick. Benjen paused. Over his shoulder, his voice came softer. "If you sit in Eddard's seat, remember that you do it for them, not yourself," he said. "And remember that kings and bastards both bleed the same color." By the time the fire had burned down to embers, he was gone. Jon sat a long time in the darkness after that, listening to the night and the slow breathing of his wolf. At dawn, he saddled his horse, drew his black cloak around him, and rode south. He did not look back. Winterfell smelled of wood smoke and damp stone, of dogs and hot bread and the faint ghost of snowmelt in the godswood. Jon reined in before the great iron-banded gates and felt the memories rise in him like heat. Racing Robb along the walls, Arya's laughter as she beat Bran bloody in the yard with a wooden sword, Sansa's voice, high and clear, singing in the great hall, his father's hand resting on his head as they looked down from the battlements at the men drilling below. The men on the gatehouse stared down in open astonishment. A black cloak and a direwolf were not common sights at Winterfell's doors. One of them leaned over the parapet. "Who goes there?" he called, voice cracking. "Jon Snow," Jon called back. "Of the Night's Watch." The confusion that rippled along the wall at that was almost comical. He saw heads bend together, hands gesturing. Ghost shifted at his stirrup, ears flicking. After a moment, the clank and clatter of chains and winches filled the air. The gate creaked open. Ser Rodrik Castle rode out atop a shaggy gray, thick mustache bristling, his battered mail shirt straining over his solid chest. For a heartbeat, the old knight simply stared. Then his face split in something like wonder, and he swung down from his horse with surprising agility for a man his age. "Seven hells take me," he said gruffly. "Jon Snow, I thought you'd be freezing your humors off atop that bloody wall. What brings you to Winterfell?" The question was simple. The answer was not. "I had to come," Jon said. For my family. For Winterfell." Ser Rodrik's brows drew down. His eyes dropped to Jon's cloak. "You took the black," he said. "I heard from your lord father himself before he rode south. You were proud enough of it then." Shame prickled the back of Jon's neck. "I know what I've done," he said. "I'll answer for it, but not yet. Not while—" The words faltered. "Is it true? About my father?" The lines in Ser Rodrik's face deepened. His big hand closed briefly, painfully, on Jon's forearm. "Come inside, lad," he said. "We'll not talk of such things in the yard." They rode through the gates together, Ghost padding silent at Jon's side. The yard was busy with the familiar chaos of a great holdfast. Stable boys running, dogs barking, the clang of steel from the smithy. Faces turned toward them as they passed. A murmur ran through the crowd. Jon caught his name, spoken in disbelief, in relief, in something that might have been suspicion. Winterfell stones rose around him, taller than he'd remembered, as if the place had grown in his absence. The broken tower loomed against the gray sky, its shattered top black with roosting crows. Somewhere beyond those walls lay the godswood, the heart tree, the pool. Bran lay in the solar with a blanket over his legs and a direwolf at his feet. Rickon was on the floor with him, flinging wooden soldiers into a precarious tower and shrieking with laughter when they fell. Summer lifted his head as Jon entered, golden eyes bright. Shaggy Dog's black fur bristled, lips curling back from sharp white teeth. "Shaggy, no?" Rickon shouted. "No biting Jon." Jon froze in the doorway, the sudden tightness in his chest almost more than he could bear. Bran's head jerked up. For an instant his eyes were wild and unfocused, as if he'd been far away in some dream. Then they cleared, and his mouth fell open. "Jon," he whispered. Rickon barreled across the rushes like a small storm, flinging himself at Jon with all the force his little body could muster. Jon staggered and caught him, the breath knocked from his lungs. The boy smelled of dog and dirt and boy sweat and the faint, sour tang of fear that lingered in Winterfell's air these days. "You came back," Rickon babbled into his cloak. You came back. I told them you would." Jon sank to one knee, holding him tight, his throat too thick for speech. When he could stand again, he crossed the room slowly, each step leaden. Bran had pushed himself up on his elbows. The muscles in his wasted legs quivered beneath the blanket. "You're supposed to be on the wall," Bran said, trying and failing to sound stern. His lower lip trembled. "Robb said you'd taken the black and you couldn't ever have a wife or children or land or... His voice broke. Jon sat on the edge of the bed and took Bran's hand. It felt small and thin and cold, but his grip was fierce. "I'm supposed to be a lot of things," Jon said. "I'm here now. I couldn't stay away. Not after." Bran's eyes filled. "They killed Father," he whispered. "They cut off his head and put it on the gates. Old Nen said it's true. The ravens all said it. Is it true?" Jon swallowed. There were no gentle words for certain truths. "It is," he said. "I'm sorry, Bran. I'm so sorry." Bran turned his face away, shoulders shaking. Summer laid his head on the boy's chest with a low, mournful sound. Rickon, too young to understand all of it but old enough to feel the grief in the air, began to wail. Shaggy Dog's howl joined his, eerie and high. Jon sat in the midst of it, the castle stones solid around him, and felt the shape of his choice settle over him like a cloak. Later, in the great hall, Maester Luwin's face was lined with worry. Catelyn Stark was gone with Robb. Sansa and Arya were in the south. Robb was a world away with an army at his back. Winterfell was a house of children and graybeards now, and the talk in the hallways whispered of things that crept closer while everyone's eyes were turned south. Raiders along the stony shore, ironborn ships sighted off Bear Island's coasts. Rave. Ines from the Dreadfort slow to answer calls. "You understand what comes of this," Luwin said. His hands fussed with the chain around his neck as if it were a rosary. "If Lord Commander Mormont learns you have deserted." "He will," Jon said. "The wall has eyes, and ravens." "He must send men to bring you back," Luwin said. "The Watch cannot survive if oaths mean nothing." "I know," Jon said again. "But what does the North survive, if no one sits Winterfell's high seat while Robb is gone?" Bran is a child. Rickon is a boy who barely knows his letters. The lords look south, Maester. They look to Robb. But their lands are here. Their people are here. Their loyalty is to a king in the north now, Luwin said quietly. "Do not mistake it. They raised their swords to Robb, not to you." "I don't want their swords," Jon said, though even as he said it he felt the lie in it. "Winterfell needs a sword in its hand. That's all." Someone to speak with Ser Roderick's voice when he cannot be heard across the whole of the north. He hesitated. I won't claim anything more." Luwin's eyes were like crows, black and sharp. "You sit in Lord Eddard's place at table," he said. "You speak with his voice to the stewards and the washerwomen and the grooms. You walk his halls. Men are not clever. They see such things and they make their own meanings." He folded his hands. "I counsel you this. If you are determined to stay, do it openly. No half measures. Write to Lord Robb. Explain yourself. Offer your sword, your brain, your blood to his cause in the north while he wages it in the south. Maybe he will forgive your broken oath for the sake of what you offer. And if he does not?" Jon asked. Luwin's silence was answer enough. Jon wrote the letter that night in a cramped hand under the maester's careful eye, the ink blotting when his hand shook. He wrote of the wall and of their father's death, of the raven's words and the way Bran's mouth had trembled when he'd said, "Is it true?" He wrote of Winterfell's garrison and stores, of what Ser Roderick said of the bannerman's temper, of rumors trickling in from White Harbor and the moat. He wrote, at the last, of oaths. One to the Night's Watch, taken with sword and blood and words, one older and deeper to house and blood and name. "I cannot be at your side in the south," he wrote, the quill scratching, "but I can be your hand in the north if you will have me. Winterfell must not be left to boys and graybeards. Our father would not have wished it. I have broken my oath to the Watch. I do not hide that from you. If you command me to go back, I will go, and hang if I must. But if you do not, I will hold Winterfell for you until you return. If you never do, I will hold it for Bran and Rickon in your name until they are grown." He signed it Jon Snow, not Stark. He could not bring himself to do otherwise. Luwin sanded the letter, tied it with twine, sealed it with the dire wolf of House Stark. The raven took wing into a dawn sky streaked with pale pink. "You've set something in motion," Luwin said softly. Jon watched the bird until it was a speck. "It was in motion already," he said. "I just chose where to stand." Far to the south, beyond moors and rivers and the broken back of the neck, Robb Stark sat a gray horse in the rain outside the Oxcross mill and watched Lannister banners burn. His hair was plastered to his skull, his leathers soaked, gray winds fur-heavy with wet. The air stank of smoke and mud and blood. Men cheered around him, hoarse and wild. The great Jon among them, his sword red and his laughter booming. Karstark men coldly efficient as they set about the work of stripping the dead. River lords with victory in their eyes and the bitter knowledge of the lands they'd lost etched deep in their faces. "Another victory, your grace," Theon Greyjoy crowed, blue eyes bright as he spun his sword point down in the muck. Lannisters running with their tails tucked between their shitting arses. "The songs will be thick as flies before long." Robb barely heard him. The rain was washing the blood from his gauntlets in thin pink streams. Every man slain here was one less sword to march against his enemies. Every one of his own who fell was a name he'd have to send north in a raven's beak. King in the north, they called him now. The words sat ill on his shoulders, heavier sometimes than the mail he wore. "Your Grace," a voice said at his elbow. Catelyn Stark's face was haggard, the lines of grief around her mouth deeper than the last time he'd looked. "A raven came while we were fighting." Robb turned sharply. "From where?" "From Winterfell," she said. There was something strange in her voice, something tight and controlled. "From Maester Luwin. It bears news." For a heartbeat, he felt only a flash of wild, nonsensical hope. News from Winterfell meant news of Bran and Rickon, of home, of a world before heads on spikes. "How are they?" he demanded. "Bran, Rickon, have there been raids? Is Winterfell safe?" Catelyn did not answer at once. She held out the Scrivener's roll instead, the seal broken and hanging in red fragments. Robb snatched it, hands suddenly clumsy, and scanned the neat lines. At first the words made no sense. Then they did, and the world lurched. "Jon," he said aloud, voice harsh. He left the wall?" Beside him, Grey Wind's ears flattened. Catelyn's mouth was a thin line. "It seems your father's bastard has deserted the Night's Watch and ridden home," she said. "He sits in Winterfell now, advising Ser Roderick and sitting in your father's place from the sound of it." "He says he does it for me?" Robb said, eyes flicking back to the page as if the words might have changed. "To hold Winterfell in my name, to keep Bran and Rickon safe." "He broke an oath sworn to the old gods and the new," Catelyn said sharply. "You must not forget that." The great Jon had drawn closer, curiosity bright in his ruddy face. "What's this?" he boomed. "The snow pup's gone and taken the castle, has he?" He slapped his thigh. "Ha! Well, he's a wolf, bastard or no. Better a wolf in Winterfell than no one but maesters and old men." "He is not a wolf," Catelyn said coldly. "He is baseborn. The king's laws. The king's laws have no place in the north now," Roose Bolton murmured, drifted closer like a pale, quiet shadow. His eyes were pale and unreadable. "We have a king of our own." Robb felt the weight of their gazes on him. His hand tightened on the parchment. Rain blurred the ink at the edges. Jon's cramped script wavered. He thought of Jon's laugh, the feel of his shoulder under Robb's arm when they'd wrestled as boys. He thought of the way Jon's face had gone still and shuddered whenever Catelyn entered a room. He thought of the oath before the heart tree, of black wool and the pride in Jon's eyes when he'd said the words, "Broken now." "What will you do?" Catelyn asked. There was something like fear beneath the stiffness in her voice. Fear for Bran and Rickon, for Winterfell, for the order of the world as she understood it. What would father do? The question rose like a reflex. Ned Stark would have flayed his eyes from his own face before he deserted his post. But Ned was dead, his head rotting on a southern spike, and all his old answers were rotting with him. Robb was not his father. He was a boy with a crown, and every choice he made carved new lines across the map of the North. "He is my brother," he said at last, the word tasting strange when applied to Jon. Catelyn's mouth tightened further, but she did not speak. "He has Stark blood. Winterfell knows his face. The men like him." "Some men," Bolton murmured. Great Jon snorted. "All men with eyes," he said. "The boy's a good sword and a steady head. I'd take him at my back on any day you'd name." "He abandoned his brothers on the wall," Catelyn said. "If he'll break that oath, what oath will he keep? Will you make him lord over my son's birthright?" Anger flared in Robb, sudden and hot. "He wrote that he'd hold it for me," he snapped. "For Bran and Rickon if I fall. He asked my leave. That's more than some lords would do." The Great Jon gave a booming laugh. "Ha! The whelp has more sense than half the hall. Knows who wears the crown, at least." Bolton tilted his head, expression pale and pensive. "The Night's Watch will demand he be returned to them," he said. "If you shelter him, you set yourself against their order. If you cast him out or hang him, you set a tale running through the North of a king who butchered his own brother for the sake of southern vows." He spread his pale hands. "Either has consequences." Robb knew it. The map unrolled in his mind again. Not of rivers and mountains, but of men and names and loyalties. Manderley at White Harbor, all fat and smiling and sharp as any blade under the flesh. Dour Karstarks with their thirst for Lannister blood. Rusty lords in the mountains. Grim men of the Dreadfort with flayed men on their banners. Some had known Jon. Some had trained with him in Winterfell's yard. Some had no love for bastards. Some had no love for broken vows. King in the North. Every such king had needed his bannermen to see him as a thing apart, bigger than petty quarrels and smaller oaths. But every such king had also needed to remember that his strength came from those same petty men, their grudges and their loves and their memories. He touched the parchment again, fingers leaving wet smears on wet ink. "We march for the Westerlands next," he said, mostly to himself. "We cannot spare men to ride north and drag him from Winterfell, even if I wished it." "Then the Watch will do it for you," Catelyn said. "Their ravens fly fast." "Perhaps," Robb said. "Or perhaps winter will close the passes first, and ravens will find sleet and fog and broken towers. Men cannot catch what snows bury." Gray Wind gave a low, impatient huff, as if to say there were more important prey to think about. Robb looked up at last, lifting his chin against the rain. "We ride dawn," he said. "For now, Jon holds Winterfell. For me, for Bran and Rickon. Let the lords think on that as they will." It was not an answer, not truly. It was a choice all the same. By the time the Night's Watch's raven reached Winterfell with its neat little strip of parchment demanding the return of the deserter named Jon Snow for execution at the hand of his rightful lord, the snows had begun in earnest, and the North was already sliding, slow and inexorable, toward war with itself. The first crack was a small one. No one noticed it at the time. It came with a rider out of the east, a dusty, wiry man with Karstark colors on his cloak and a face drawn thin by long days in the saddle. He bowed low before Jon in the great hall, the banners of House Stark stirring in a faint draft overhead. "Your lordship," he said, stumbling over the title. "My master sends his respects. He bids me say that Carhold stands with Winterfell in all matters of defense and provision for the North, and that his men will ride to your call if raiders come from sea or mountain." The maester made a careful note on his slate. Ser Roderick nodded, pleased. "And for the king?" Jon asked. The word tasted strange on his tongue. He sat in his father's chair solely because Luwin and Ser Roderick had urged him to, the worn leather under him still seeming to hold Ned Stark's shape. The hall seemed to look back at him with 100 eyes, testing his fit. "What tidings from Lord Karstark concerning the king in the north?" The messenger shifted, My lord says his sons are with the king and his duty is to them and the justice they demand from the Lannisters, he said. He adds that winter comes whether there is a king or not, and the North must be ready for it. Ghost lay at Jon's feet, head on his paws, eyes half-lidded. At that, the direwolf's ears twitched. Thank your master for his words, Jon said carefully. Tell him Winterfell remembers old loyalties and expects them to be honored now as ever. He hesitated. Tell him also that the Watch will struggle with its numbers, and if he has men to spare for the wall, their service will not be forgotten. The messenger looked relieved to have a clear instruction. He bowed again and backed away. Luwin leaned closer. A careful reply, he murmured. Not all will be so. The crack widened with a letter from White Harbor, written in the flowing hand of Lord Wyman Manderly. The fat man's words were obsequious and full of praise for Robb, but between the lines Jon saw calculation. Should his grace find himself pressed to the wall in his southern ventures, the letter said in essence, let him remember that ships and coin and salted meats come more from White Harbor than from anywhere else. While his sword is turned south, there must be a steady hand in the north to see such things are not squandered. It is a comfort to know Winterfell has won. He writes as if he has already decided something, Jon said. Wyman Manderly always writes as if he has already decided something, Luwin replied dryly. The question is only whether that thing will be what you wish or what he does. Snow thickened on the roofs. Wolves howled at night. Rumors came like flurries. Ironborn longships raiding along the western coasts. Bolton men seen riding with flayed men banners near the bar Rowlands, flaying poachers and outlaws and anyone who looked at them wrong. Frey envoys riding in and out of Robb's camp, their faces long and sour. In the great hall of Winterfell, men began to stand in different places. Some clustered near Ser Roderick, old loyalties bending easily. Others gravitated toward the maester and his slate, more comfortable with tallies and letters than with swords. More than Jon liked to admit drifted near his chair, their eyes flicking to the bastard in Ned Stark's seat, weighing him. He tried to be what they needed. Stern on matters of theft and quarrels, just in meting out punishments, careful to honor old truces between houses and new griefs both. He listened to farmers and shepherds and the wives of men gone south, to sheriffs with their hands full of small folk complaints, to knights with battered shields asking for more men at this outpost or that. He sat at Bran's bedside at night and told him tales of the wall, of wildlings and cold and the strange, still things that moved up there. And of Uncle Benjen? Bran would ask, eyes wide in the candlelight. Of him too, Jon would say, though he did not speak of the black humor in his uncle's eyes, or the way the forest seemed to lean closer when the first ranger talked of what moved in its depths. The raven from the wall came while Jon was in the yard, watching the boys run through their drills. White breath steamed in the air as wooden swords clacked together. The yard rang with shouts. Maester Luwin met him as he came in, parchment in hand, his face grave. From Lord Commander Mormont, he said. Jon took it with fingers that suddenly felt clumsy. The words were neat and uncompromising. To Ser Roderick Castle, Castellan of Winterfell, and to whomsoever sits the seat of Lord Eddard Stark. It has come to our attention that the man Jon Snow, once sworn brother of the Night's Watch, has deserted his post and ridden south. You will surrender him at once to the custody of the Night's Watch, that he may be returned to stand judgment for his desertion. If this is not done, let it be known that the Night's Watch considers any man who harbors him made party to his crime. By my hand, Jeor Mormont, Lord Commander, on behalf of the Night's Watch and the realm all men swore to defend. Jon read it twice. The words did not change. Ser Roderick's mustache twitched. They cannot mean to hang you, he said. Not after. They can, Jon said quietly. And they should. They are right. Perhaps, Luwin said. But you are not the only one who will hang, if it comes to that. Jon looked up sharply. The Night's Watch has power because men believe it does, the maester said. It cannot march an army south to drag you from Winterfell. It depends on lords like Robb and the great houses to enforce its edicts. If Robb refuses, they can brand him Oathbreaker too. If they do, every lord who follows him must choose between his king and his own conscience. And if I give myself up, Jon said, Winterfell loses what? A bastard with a sword. A Stark, Luwin said softly. You may not bear the name, but do you think any man with eyes does not see whose blood runs in your face? The choice was ugly and simple and full of thorns. Jon stared at the parchment until the ink blurred. At last he went to the Godswood. Snow muffled the crunch of his boots as he walked between the bare black trunks. The heart tree loomed ahead, its pale face streaked with red. The pool below it was rimed with ice, the reflection of the carved eyes wavering. He knelt in the snow and laid Longclaw before him. I broke my oath, he said aloud, his breath plumed before him. I said the words of my own will and I left anyway. I cannot pretend otherwise. I cannot pretend I did not know what I was doing. Ghost sat beside him, white fur blending with the snow, eyes like embers. I should ride back and hang. I know it. Uncle Benjen would tell me so. Father would have. The wind sighed in the branches. Somewhere far off, a raven croaked. But if I go, Jon whispered, who holds this place for them? Who keeps Bran and Rickon safe? Who listens when the Karstarks say they will stand with Winterfell, but not when it means sending more sons to die in the south? Who will stand between Bolton's men and the farmers when they come riding with their flayed banners and their quiet little smiles? He closed his eyes and pressed his forehead to the cold ground. The earth smelled of iron and old leaves and something deep and still. Tell me where I belong, he said to the tree, to the gods, to whatever might be listening in the old wood. Crow or wolf, wall or Winterfell, tell me and I'll do it. I swear I will. Only the wind answered. When he rose, his knees were stiff, his fingers numb. He picked up Longclaw and buckled it at his hip. I can't go, he told Ghost quietly as they walked back through the snow. If they want me, they'll have to come and take me. But I won't hide behind these walls like some craven lord afraid of his own servants. His mouth tightened. If it must be done, it will be done in the open with all the North watching. Half measures, Benjen had said, will only earn you more enemies. Jon had chosen already, the day he'd ridden south. Now he would make that choice plain. They came under the gray banners of the Dreadfort, flayed men writhing crimson in the pale light. A small company of riders led by a man with a soft voice and eyes like chips of dirty ice. Ramsay Snow was not yet legitimized, but he wore his father's colors with the easy arrogance of one who believed the matter already settled. Lord Snow, he said with a mocking half-bow in Winterfell's yard, his eyes flicking past Jon to the gray towers. Or is it Lord Stark now? It's hard to keep additions to the family straight. Jon felt Ghost's low growl rather than heard it. It matched the rumble in his own chest. I am Jon Snow, he said, bastard of Winterfell. I make no other claim. You know that. Oh, I know what people say, Ramsay purred. What they believe is often a different beast. Men see a bastard in a lord's chair and they start to think odd things. Dangerous things. His gaze slid to Bran, watching from the balcony with Summer's head beside his shoulder. It would comfort many to see the matter made simple. Ser Roderick's hand went to the hilt of his sword. Mind your tongue, boy, he snapped. You stand in your lord's yard. Do I? Ramsay smiled thinly. How fortunate. I come bearing letters. One from Lord Bolton, ridden from the King's camp. One from Lord Commander Mormont. One from others in the north who are concerned about the stain desertion leaves on us all. He held them up, 3 neat rolls of parchment, seals unbroken. They might as well have been knives. In the great hall, before the gathered household, Jon broke each seal in turn. Lord Bolton's hand was cool and precise. It is the place of a king to decide the fate of oathbreakers and deserters, he wrote. Our young king in the north rides far from his seat. In his absence, some have taken upon themselves roles not theirs by right. The Night's Watch demands justice. The North demands honor be seen to be upheld. My son will stand witness to whatever decision you take, that the king may know you acted or failed to act with his duty in mind. The letter from the wall was shorter, the words blunt. Send him, or we will remember who defied us when the realm needs us most. The third letter bore no name at the bottom, only a crude scrawl, the drawn outline of a flayed man. They mean to make an example of you, Lewin said quietly afterward, parchment crackling in his hands. To set the North talking. If you hang, they say the king honors oaths even when they cut close to his own blood. If you do not, they say the king plays favorites with his bastards while loyal men bleed in the south. And if I send no answer? Jon asked. Then others will answer for you, Lewin said. With gossip, with whispers, with swords. Ramsay lounged against a pillar, watching the play of emotions across the hall with keen interest. He fed on discord like a carrion crow and saw a feast laid before him. We could slip you away, Ser Rodrik said abruptly. In the night, I could ride in your place, say you took the black again, that you repented. By the time they realize it's not you, you'd be... He trailed off. No, Jon said. The thought of Ser Rodrik's old neck in a noose in his stead made his stomach heave. No more lies. If I started the storm by breaking my oath, I won't hide from the rain. We can deny them entry, one of the garrison captains said. Bolton's whelp and his men. Close the gates. Let them freeze outside our walls. And when they bring more men? Lewin said. When Lord Bolton himself rides to ask why Winterfell shuts its gate to its own bannermen. When Lord Frey hears there is discord between you and his king's advisors, you would be besieged from without and within. Jon knew it. He could feel the tension in the hall, the way men glanced at one another, at him, at Bran's chair. Some faces were drawn with worry. Some were eager in a way that made his skin crawl, sniffing blood. The Boltons were feared. The Watch was revered. Standing against both openly would set him apart, for good or ill. He remembered Benjen's words, the ravens whispering, the snow choosing his place. I will not hang, he said slowly, for doing what I thought right for Winterfell, but neither will I pretend my oath meant nothing. He looked at Lewin. Send a raven to the wall. Tell Lord Commander Mormont that I will not flee or hide. If he believes a rope around my neck serves the realm better than a sword in my hand, he is free to come and place it there himself. Lewin's eyes widened. Jon. And as for Lord Bolton, Jon went on, louder now so his words carried. Tell him this, until I hear from Robb himself that he commands me to give myself up, I will hold Winterfell in my brother's name. If Bolton doubts Robb, let him ride to the king's camp and speak to him there, rather than sending bastards in his stead to peer at mine. A murmur ran through the hall, some approving, some shocked. Ramsay's smile thinned. Strong words, he said. Dangerous words. It may be that the king has already made his will known, and men like my father merely obey. Then I'll hear it from his own hand, Jon said. His heart was thudding hard. He could almost feel the shape of the path extending before him now. Every step leading away from the life he'd once thought he'd live and deeper into something larger and darker. Later, alone, he thought of simply riding away again. Riding north this time, to the deep snow and the dark woods, leaving Winterfell and its thousand eyes behind. He could lose himself in the wilds, join the wildlings as Mance Rayder had. Ghost would thrive there. He might too. But then Bran's face rose in his mind, pale and strained. Rickon's small body flung against him. The farmers bowed heads before the hall, the pleading in their eyes when they spoke of raiders and wolves. The thought of Ramsay's hands on any of them made his vision go red. Coward, he told himself, voice soft but merciless. You ran once. You don't get to run again. The days that followed tasted of iron. The North talked. Letters flew on black wings from holdfast to holdfast. Men muttered at hearths and along palisades. Some said Jon Snow was a usurper in all but name, a bastard sitting where he did not belong. Others said a Stark's blood was a Stark's blood, vows be damned, and that it was about time someone thought of the North first and the South not at all. The first bannermen to declare openly were the small ones. House Serwyn sent a stripped-down letter saying, in essence, that they would pay their taxes and heed orders from whoever kept the roads clear and the wolves from their doors. House Tallheart sent a rider with a bolder message, that they would obey the king in the north in his war, but for local matters they would look to Winterfell as they always had. The implication was clear. Winterfell meant Jon now. Others followed, some cautiously, some with open enthusiasm, some, like the Boltons, waited, weighing. "I have started a war," Jon said to Ghost one night, staring into the fire. "Not with swords yet, but it's there waiting." Every letter a blade, every silence a shield. Ghost huffed, as if to say war had been there before him and would be there long after. He wondered, sometimes, what Robb thought, reading the same words in different places, hearing rumors of his bastard brother sitting in Winterfell while his own boots trod foreign soil. Robb's answer came at last, carried by a half-frozen raven and a rider whose horse dropped dead in the yard from exhaustion. The letter was shorter than Jon had expected. The hand was Robb's, the strokes harder now, as if driven by force of will through weariness. "You are a fool," it began. "You have broken your vows and set my lords at one another's throats when we can least afford it. Mother says I should order you to the wall and let them hang you and be done. Others say I should name you traitor and strip you of my father's name, bastard or not. I do neither." He paused, breath tight. "You are my brother, Jon. I will not pretend otherwise. You are Stark blood. Father trusted you and so did I. I cannot afford to throw away any sword that might be turned to our enemy now, whether lion or kraken or fry. Hold Winterfell. Do it in my name. Keep Bran and Rickon safe. When this war is done, if we both still live, we will sit together in the hall and decide what to do about your oath and your neck. Robb." Jon read it 3 times. The words did not grow kinder or crueler with repetition. They remained what they were: a reprieve, a burden, a tether between them. "He gave you what you asked for," Luwin said. "Sanction, however grudging. And in doing so," Jon said, "he set his seal to my breaking the Watch's law. The old bear will not forgive that." "The old bear may have other worries," Luwin murmured. "There are rumors, even here, of wildlings in great numbers beyond the wall. Perhaps in time men will think more of that than of one boy riding the wrong way down a road. Perhaps. Or perhaps they would remember both and say, that was the first crack. That was where the North began to split, one brother at the wall, one in a southern war, one in Winterfell with a direwolf at his heel and a guilt he could not shake." The letters were read aloud in hall and camp. Men listened and made their own meanings. In Carhold, Rickard Karstark bared his teeth and said the king was too soft by half with his kin. In White Harbor, Wyman Manderly stroked his chins and smiled his secret smile, seeing opportunity. In the Dreadfort, Roose Bolton's pale eyes narrowed in thought. In the shadows behind him, Ramsay's smile widened. And in Winterfell's yard, when Jon walked among the men drilling, he heard someone call him Lord Stark for the first time, softly and without mockery. He turned. The man, one of the Serwyn retainers, flushed and stammered an apology. "I meant no offense, Lord," he said. "It's just, you sit the seat, don't you? You're the one we see when we come for justice. Kings far away, the lordlings that go south. Some don't come back. But you're here." Jon could have corrected him, could have insisted on snow, on bastard, on limits. But there was a war gathering in the north now within and without, and names were weapons like any other. "See you keep your shield up," he said instead. "We'll have need of every arm before this is done." The man grinned, relieved. "I am Lord. Lord, Stark, Snow, Oathbreaker, Brother, Kingsman, Northsman." He wore them all at once, and the weight of it began to drive cracks not just through the north but through him. The first blood of the Northern Civil War was not spilled in some grand battle before castle walls, but in a frozen field near the Hornwood, over stolen cattle and a boundary marker buried under snow. House Hornwood's lord had died in Robb's war. His lands had been left in uneasy stewardship, his heir a child. The men of House Riswell and House Bolton both coveted them. Months of petty raids and claims had erupted, with winter closing and hunger looming. When Bolton men rode under flayed banners to settle the matter by taking what they wished, Hornwood retainers met them with bow, WS and spears. "If we let Bolton's bastards take what they like here," said the Hornwood captain when Jon rode to the scene with a small company from Winterfell, "what stops them from riding up to your gates next, Lord? There's wolves in them flayed men's skins, sure, but they ain't our kind." Dead men lay stiff in the snow, their blood frozen in dark fans. Flayed men banners snapped in the wind beside the gray elk of Hornwood and the dire wolf of Stark. The Bolton's surviving captain, a narrow-faced man with pinched lips, sneered when Jon dismounted. "These lands owe fealty to the Dreadfort as much as to Winterfell," he said. "We are here at Lord Bolton's command. If these peasants had but handed over what they owed, there'd be none of this mess. They owed the Hornwoods." The Hornwood man spat. "You've no right to take our kine." "My right is my lord's word," the Bolton replied. "What's yours, bastard?" Ghost's growl was a low, dangerous rumble. Jon's hand itched for Longclaw's hilt. It would be easy, so easy, to let the tension snap and blood flow again. Instead, he raised his voice so all could hear. "These fights over scraps help only the lions and the krakens," he said. "While we squabble over cattle, the South bleeds us, and winter hunts us all. The Hornwood's lands will not be parceled out by any man without Robb Stark's word or mine." He looked at the Bolton captain. "You will return home. Tell Lord Bolton I will speak with him of this at his next visit to Winterfell. If he has claims, he may bring them to the high seat, as law and custom demand. And if I say my lord does not bow his neck to a bastard's judgment," the captain said. "Then you may say it," Jon replied, voice cold. "But you will say it with my wolf's teeth at your throat if you bring men onto Hornwood land again without leave." The Bolton man's hand strayed to his sword. It might have come to slaughter then and there, northern blades and northern flesh, if not for one small thing. The Hornwood archers still had arrows on their strings, and Ghost's jaws were a pale promise in the snow. The Bolton captain weighed his odds and found them wanting. He spat into the snow and turned his horse. "You speak bold for a deserter," he muttered as he passed Jon. "You think a letter makes you lord? We'll see how bold you stand when real lords come calling." "Tell Lord Bolton he is welcome," Jon said. "Winterfell's gates are open to all loyal to the king in the north." The man laughed short and sharp. "Aye, loyal. We'll see what that means soon enough." He rode off. The flayed men banners went with him. The Hornwood men cheered, but the sound was thin. "You've made an enemy," Ser Roderick said quietly on the ride back. "Not that Bolton was ever much of a friend." "We had that enemy already," Jon said. "Now it's out in the open." "Enemies hidden are sometimes safer," the old knight said. "No," Jon said. "They're just harder to put a sword through." Still, in the private dark of his chamber that night, he wondered what Robb would say if he heard of it. Another choice made in his name without his voice. Another thread pulled in a great, tangled weave. "At this rate," he said to Ghost, "there'll be more fighting in the north between our own than with any lion or kraken." Ghost licked his hand with a rough, warm tongue. It was no answer, but it was comfort of a sort. As winter crept closer, skirmishes broke out like frostbite across the map of the north. Bolton men harried Hornwood and Riswell borders. Manderley riders misinterpreted old fishing rites near the fingers and came to blows with men sworn to House Glover. A drunk Serwyn knight insulted an Umber bannerman's honor at a feast in White Harbor and lost 3 fingers for his trouble. The great Jon only laughed and poured more ale, but his son took note. Small things, each no greater than 100 other grievances that had been solved by marriage or gold or a good honest beating in a yard. Only now every insult carried a new edge. Whose king did you serve when you raised your voice in protest? Whose wolf did you follow? The one with a crown in the south, or the one with snow in his hair in Winterfell's hall? Some said there was no difference. Some said there was all the difference in the world. The letter from King's Landing offering terms to Robb, An end to the war in exchange for fealty and the North's submission, never reached him. It went missing somewhere between the neck and the twins, a raven skeleton found half-eaten in a bog, its message gnawed to pulp by swamp rats. Another letter, however, found its mark. It came from Dragonstone, where Stannis Baratheon brooded over stone dragons and old grievances. He had heard of a northern king and his bastard brother holding Winterfell. He had heard of oaths and of fire. He sent a man to treat with Robb, and another to Winterfell, bearing the crowned stag aflame. In Winterfell's courtyard, the Baratheon man shivered in his Southron mail, eyes narrowed against the cold. "Lord Snow," he said, bowing the bare minimum the name required. "I come bearing a letter from King Stannis, first of his name, rightful heir to King Robert of House Baratheon." Jon took it. The words inside were as hard and uncompromising as Stannis himself. "You have broken an oath to a false king who put his claims before the realm's need, much as my brother did when he took his whore to wife. So be it. Oaths to false kings are no oaths at all. I will not hang a man for choosing the realm over a bastard on a throne. The Night's Watch's anger is noted, but the wall is mine to defend as king, and their vows are to the realm, which is mine. You sit in Winterfell with Stark blood. I will need Winterfell. I will need the North. Bend the knee and call me king, and I will name you Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell, Warden of the North. When the war is done, the matter of your broken vows will be set aside in light of your service. Refuse, and I will remember it. Stannis Baratheon." The offer burned his eyes. It was everything he had never dared even think of wanting as a boy. A name, a place, a sanctioned belonging. No longer bastard, no longer half obligation, half shame in his father's eyes. Lord of Winterfell, Jon Stark. Maester Luwin read it twice, lips moving. "Well," he said at last, "that is bold." "It's a noose of a different sort," Ser Rodrik muttered. "We turn our cloak to this king of his. We spit in Robb's eye. Our own flesh, our own blood. Robb turned his cloak first, if you believe Stannis," Luwin pointed out. "From one king to no king at all, save himself. And Stannis does have some law on his side." Jon traced the letters of his would-be name with a thumb. Stark. He thought of his father's face, of Robb's letter. "He calls my vows null," Jon said, "as if he can wave a hand and make what I did right." "Kings have been making wrong things right with the stroke of a quill since quills were invented," Luwin said dryly. "Or at least telling themselves so." "What would it mean?" Bran asked from his chair. He had insisted on being present whenever major letters were read now. His jaw set with new hard lines. "If you said yes, it would mean we turn away from Robb," Jon said. The words tasted like ash. "It would mean we tie the North's fate to Stannis instead. It would mean I become what Catelyn always feared I might, a bastard raised up at the expense of her true-born son." "You are not taking anything from me," Bran said sharply. "Or from Rickon. I know that. So do they, if they think at all." His hands tightened on the arms of his chair. "What good is it, being king in the North, if the North tears itself apart and the wall falls because we were all too busy arguing over whose name is on what letter?" Jon looked at him. "You sound like father," he said softly. Bran's mouth twisted. "Father isn't here," he said. "It's us now." It was like standing at a fork in a path in a whiteout blizzard. Any way he turned, the wind would cut his face. Any way he turned, he could not see where it ended. "Write to him," Luwin said suddenly. "To Stannis." Jon blinked. "What would I say? That I like his crown better than Robb's. That the North is not a cloak to be worn by whatever king pulls hardest," Luwin said. "That there are enemies older than his quarrel with the Lannisters. That if he wants the North, he must think beyond his own rights. Perhaps he will not listen, but perhaps he will. Men are not entirely made of stone, even him." "And in the meantime?" Ser Rodrik asked. "What of where our swords point?" "In the meantime," Jon said, "our swords point where they always have, at any man who threatens the people under these roofs." He folded the letter carefully. I will not bend the knee to one king by stabbing another in the back while he fights for our father's death. Not yet. Some will call that weakness, Ser Roderick said. Men like Bolton. Men who love clear lines and simple betrayals. Let them, Jon said. I'm done with simple lies. So he wrote to Stannis as he had written to Robb, straight and plain. He wrote of wildlings and wights, of Benjen's warnings, of the old powers stirring. He wrote of the North's needs, grain and peace and time. He wrote, I cannot bend the knee to you while my brother fights in the south, not if I wish to look him in the eye later. But I will not raise a sword against you either, if you march against our common enemies. Winterfell will stand for the North first, whoever wears the crown. He signed it Jon Snow again, not Stark. Each time, that choice burned. As the raven took wing, the North's cracks widened. Somewhere far away, Robb Stark rode into a hall hung with twin towers and music that smelled of blood. Somewhere beyond the wall, Mance Rayder gathered wildling clans under his ragged banners. And in Winterfell, Jon Snow sat in a high seat that was too big for him, with a dire wolf at his feet and a war brewing under the snow. The word of the Red Wedding came like a knife in the dark. A rider from the Manderleys arrived half-frozen, half-mad with exhaustion, his horse stumbling beneath him. They dragged him from the saddle in the yard. He clutched at Jon's cloak with fingers stiff with cold. Dead, he rasped, lips cracking. All dead. The king in the North betrayed. Phrase, red, all red. In the great hall, under the weight of their ancestors' eyes, Jon listened to the horror spill out. Bread and salt broken and taken. Music swelling, doors barred, crossbows and balconies. Robb with spears through him, Catelyn screaming as her son's body fell. The river running red outside the twins. Grey Wind's head sewn to Robb's corpse like some grotesque mockery. Bran turned white as milk. Rickon fled the hall sobbing. Ser Roderick wept openly, his great hands shaking. Maester Luwin bent his head, shoulders bowed. Jon felt nothing at first. It was as if his flesh had turned to ice, his chest hollowed out. The words bounced off him like stones off armor. King in the North, they echoed, and then dead, dead, dead. Later, alone in the God's Wood, the numbness cracked. He threw his fist against the heart tree's trunk until the skin split and bled, until his knuckles were raw and stinging. You wanted me here, he snarled at the carved face, at the red sap like dried blood. You or fate or whatever cruel thing chooses where a bastard falls. You had me sit in his place while he walked into that trap. You let them sew a wolf's head to his body like. His voice broke, ghost pressed close, whining softly. If I'd been there, Jon whispered, would it have changed anything? One more sword, one more wolf? Or would they have killed me too and called it justice? The godswood gave no answer, only the wind through the bare branches, the creak of snow under his boots. Robb was dead. The king in the North lay in a river under a mocking wolf's head. The banner. Men who had not died with him scattered like leaves in a gale. Some home, some to bend the knee to the Iron Throne, some to plot and seethe. In White Harbor, Wyman Manderley roasted fry men in pies and smiled with all his chins. In the Dread Fort, Roose Bolton accepted titles and honors from the Lannisters and was named Warden of the North in Robb's stead. His bastard's grin grew sharper. And in Winterfell, Jon Snow, who had started as a bastard deserter and become, by a chain of choices, the only Stark man grown left in the North, found the eyes of every man, woman, and child in the castle turning to him. Who is king now? Rickon asked that night, sitting stiff and small at the high table, the empty place beside him like a wound. If Robb is dead, no one, Bran said hollowly, or all of us, or, I don't know. The South will say Joffrey, Luwin said. Or Tommen, if the whispers about the Boy King's fate are true. Stannis will say himself. The Freys will say it hardly matters so long as their debts are paid. The Boltons will say whatever suits them. What do we say? Jon asked. The hall went very quiet. Ser Roderick cleared his throat. The men in the yard, M-Lord, they've started to talk. Some say we should raise you up in Robb's place. King in the north, they say, for a Stark who stayed home and didn't go south to be butchered like cattle. He looked deeply uncomfortable. Others do not like the sound of that. They say one bastard king is enough for any kingdom. Bran's hands tightened on the arms of his chair. If there must be a king, he said, his voice trembling, it should be me. I'm Robb's brother, Trueborn. Rickon after me. You're crippled? Rickon blurted, then looked stricken. I mean, it's true, Bran said flatly. I can't ride, can't fight. Father always said a lord must be able to see his lands, ride among his men. I can't even stand. Father also said the man who passes the sentence must swing the sword, Jon said. And Robb passed plenty of sentences without cutting any throats himself. Times change. The words stay. The men won't follow a boy in a chair, Ser Rodrik said regretfully. Not with winter coming hard and Boltons at their gates. They'll want something they recognize. A sword, Luwin said quietly. A wolf they've seen fight. Jon felt the eyes on him again. He thought of Stannis's letter, of the half-formed talk in White Harbor and Carhold, of the way Ramsay had watched him calculating. If you make me king, he said, voice low, you make war inevitable. The Boltons will not accept it. The Freys will not. The Iron Throne will not. Stannis might, if it suits him. The Watch will curse my name until the wall itself falls down. And every man who raises me up paints a target on his own chest. If we do not name you, Luwin said, the Boltons will take that name for themselves. They already have the South's blessing. A Lannister's nod means much to small minds. Ramsay Snow will be made Bolton in truth. He will sit where you do and call himself Warden of the North, and he will flay anyone who says otherwise. His voice sharpened. Is that better? For Bran? For Rickon? Jon pictured Ramsay in Winterfell's hall. Ramsay at Bran's shoulder. Ramsay's flayed men banners in this yard. His dogs in these kennels. His knives at these throats. No, he said, something that might have been a growl in it. No, that I will not allow. Then what will you allow? Luwin asked softly. It comes to that now. The North is a beast with its head cut off and its heart bleeding. Something must be bound to it, or it will thrash itself to pieces. He did not sleep that night. He walked the walls in the snow with Ghost padding at his side, the cold biting through his cloak. He looked out over the land that had been his home since before he could walk, the dark shapes of the Wolfswood, the white sweep of the fields, the faint fires of the outlying farms. The North is more than names and crowns, Ben-Jen had said. It is the wall and the lands beyond, and the memories beneath the snow. But men needed names, needed something to rally to or against. At dawn, he stood in the great hall, the heart tree's pale face watching through the open doors. Bran sat in his father's chair, a blanket over his legs, his face drawn but determined. Rickon sat beside him, cheeks swollen and eyes red. The household thronged the hall. Ser Rodrik and his captains, Luwin and his quills, grooms and cooks and stewards, men-at-arms and boys with wooden swords at their belts, farmers and smiths who had come in from the lands around. Jon stepped forward. The murmurs stilled. You all know what has happened, he said. His voice echoed from the stone. Robb is dead, betrayed under guest right. The Freys and the Lannisters and the Boltons and every man who raised no hand to stop it share that guilt. So does every lord who chose his own comfort over his oath when the time came to choose. There were dark looks at that. Good. Let them think on their own part in this. The South will say we have no king now, Jon went on. That we must bend the knee to lion or stag or whatever beast wears a crown this week. They will send us lords with titles they granted themselves. Men who know nothing of winter or the wall or the people who scrape their living from snow. He took a breath. The North says differently. We named our own king once and we can do it again. But a king in the North must be more than a name in a song. He must be of the North. He must know snow and hunger and what it means to lose. He must remember the wall and the dead beyond it, as well as the games of thrones in the south. He almost laughed then at the irony. "I am Jon Snow," he said instead. "I am bastard-born. I broke an oath. I am no one's choice for a crown." A murmur rippled. He cut across it. "But I have fought at the wall. I have seen the dead rise. I have sat in this hall and heard every farmer's complaint, and every lord's grievance. Stannis Baratheon offers me Winterfell and a name if I kneel. The Lannisters offer my head if I do not. The Boltons offer flaying for anyone who stands between them and your skins." He looked up at Bran. The boy met his eyes and nodded once, small and hard. "I will not kneel to any southern king while a wolf still draws breath," Jon said. "If you will have me, I will take the crown not for my own sake but for the North's. I will be king if being king means standing between you and those who would kill you. I will be king if it means remembering the wall and what comes with the snow. But if you raise me up, know this, I am no Robb. I am no Eddard. I am Jon Snow. Bastard or king, I will do what I think is right for the North, and it will not always be what you want." Silence crashed down. Then the great Jon, back from the south with scars and grief of his own, his roar somewhat quieter than it once had been, stepped forward. He had ridden to Winterfell as soon as he'd heard the news, rage riding him like a storm. "Bastard or no," he boomed, voice rough, "this boy has more Stark in him than any Frey has honor. I'd follow him, for I'd follow a flayed man." He dropped to one knee, the motion surprisingly graceful for a man his size. "King in the North," he said, his voice echoing. "King of winter, king of snow and wolves, King Jon." One by one, others followed. Tall hearts, Serwyns, men of House Glover and House Manderly, their faces thoughtful but resolved. They bent the knee not to a name on a parchment but to the man before them, to the dire wolf at his feet, to the history in the stones. Not all knelt. Some stood stiff and silent, eyes cold. Men with ties to the Dreadfort, men who feared the Watch's wrath, men who simply did not like the idea of a bastard in a crown. The crack in the north became a chasm. In the days that followed, ravens flew like a dark storm from Winterfell. One to the wall, Jon writing, "I have broken every oath you honor and more besides. If you will hate me for what I do next, not for what I am. I will be king in the north if my people will have me, and I will see that the wall has what it needs, whatever it costs." One to Stannis, "You offered me a name and a seat. I thank you. I choose instead to take a crown of my own. If you come north to fight the dead or the ones who betrayed my brother, you will find no enemy at Winterfell's gates. If you come as you came to Storm's End, with siege and demand, we will meet you on the field. The north bows to no southern king again, not even a just one." One to King's Landing, written in Luwin's careful, neutral hand, bearing the direwolf seal. "The North remembers. We remember what you did at the Twins. We remember our fathers and brothers dead on your swords. Come if you like. Winter is long." And one, the hardest, to the Dreadfort, to Roose Bolton, recently named Warden of the North by a king who does not own the snow he stands on. "You betrayed your king and mine. You butchered our men under the guise of peace. You will not sit Winterfell while I draw breath. If you wish to contest this, bring your men. I will meet you wherever you choose. Let the North decide which of us it will follow based on who walks away." "You're inviting war," Ser Rodrik said, aghast. "War was coming," Jon said. "This way, at least, we choose where it starts." The reply came with fire. Bolton's men moved swift as knives, striking at outlying holdfasts, burning harvest stores, hanging men whose only crime had been to say Jon's name with respect. Frey men rode with them, twins on their banners, their laughter brittle. Smaller houses were forced to declare. Some chose Jon and Stark. Some chose Bolton and the Crown. Brothers split. Cousins took opposite gates. Old grudges flared into open blood. The Northern Civil War had begun in truth. Jon met the first Bolton force in earnest near the Barrowlands, on a broad, wind-swept plain where old kings lay buried in grass-covered mounds. He led men who had trained in Winterfell's yard, men who'd fought under Robb in the south and come home, men who'd never been further than the next village and now found themselves facing flayed men banners snapping in a cold wind. He had Ghost at his side, his cloak not black now but gray, trimmed in white fur. Longclaw rested easy in his hand. Snow blew in sharp flurries. Across the field, Bolton's line unrolled. Neat ranks, scarlet and gray, Frye men skulking among them like rats among wolves. At their center, Roose Bolton sat his pale horse, his face unreadable. Beside him, Ramsay's smile gleamed like a knife. They met in the no-man's land between, with a scattering of outriders and banner-bearers at their backs. "Your Grace," Roose Bolton said softly, as if trying on the title for size. "Or is it my lord? It's hard to keep such things straight when they change with every raven." "Lord Bolton," Jon said, ignoring the bait. "I see you bring a southern king's favor north with you. Tell me, does it keep you warm at night, in your tower?" "Warm enough," Bolton said. "Warmer than treason will keep you in Winterfell's ruins." "You burned Hornwood Farms," Jon said. "You hung men whose only crime was to want their daughters safe from your son's hands. You betrayed the boy you'd sworn to follow and butchered his men under guest right." "I obeyed my king," Bolton replied. "The only king with a lawful claim. Law is a curious thing, Jon Snow. You broke it first when you ran from your post. All this is just the world following your example." "That is a pretty speech for murder," Jon said. "The law you speak of cut my father's head off and called it a lesson in loyalty." "Loyalty is a choice," Roose said. "You chose to be loyal to your own sense of right above your vows. I chose the king who could win. Tell me which is more foolish." "Ask the dead at the Twins," Jon said. "Ask Robb." "Robb is beyond asking anything," Bolton essay. "ID. So soon will you be." Ramsay giggled, unable to contain himself. "We'll take that wolf skin right off you, bastard king," he said. "See what color you bleed." Jon looked at him. He saw the dogs in the man's eyes, the hunger that was not for food. "Come and try," he said. Ramsay bared his teeth. "Oh, I will." They parted then, the words done. Words had been swords long enough. It was time for iron and blood. The battle was chaos. Snow and screams and the dull thud of bodies hitting frozen ground. Arrows hissed through the gray air. Men slipped on ice, swung blades that glanced off mail and found flesh. Ghost tore through the flanks like a white shadow, his jaws red. Jon rode at the center of his line, Longclaw rising and falling, its Valyrian steel dark in the murky light. He felt the old training from Winterfell's yard surge up in him. Parry, riposte, shield up, thrust, move. Around him, men died with his name on their lips and others with curses. They broke the first Bolton charge, then the second. Frye men fled early, their nerve gone. Bolton's center held stubbornly, Roose's pale shape unmoving in the storm. It might have gone either way then. It might have broken Jon's line when a horn sounded from the flank, deep and strange. Another banner came into view through the snow, blue and white, a merman with a trident, Manderly's sigil. Wyman had come at last, fat and cunning and late. His men crashed into Bolton's unprotected side with all the weight of their southern-style steeds and heavy armor. The Bolton line shuddered. Jon saw his moment. He spurred forward, Ghost leaping beside his horse, men clustering to him. He threw himself toward the pale man at the center. Roose Bolton met him with cold efficiency. Their blades rang together, Valyrian steel on fine castle forged. Bolton was no flashy fighter, but he was precise, his movements spare and deadly. "You could have bent the knee," he said between strokes. "Worn your bastard name as a badge for the Lannisters. Lived. Then who would stand here?" Jon grunted, twisting aside and slashing. Ghost leapt at a horse that tried to flank him, bringing it down in a tangle of legs and screaming. "Someone else," Roose said. "Someone less sentimental." He lunged. Jon parried, felt the shock up his arm. Ghost barreled into a man aiming a spear at Jon's back. Snow and blood and fur filled his vision. In the end, it was not Jon's blade that decided it. It was the men watching. They saw their so-called warden fighting not lions or krakens but their own. They saw a bastard king bleeding beside them. They saw Manderly's men fight like demons for a boy not yet fully bearded. They saw the Freys slinking away, their once proud banners trampled in mud. A Hornwood man swung a stroke meant for a Bolton captain and caught Roos's horse across the neck instead. The animal screamed and crashed, throwing its rider. For a heartbeat, Roos lay exposed, cloak spread like a dark stain on the snow. Jon was there before he could rise. Longclaw's tip rested at the pale man's throat. "Yield," Jon said. The word was a rough growl. "Or do you believe in your king's law so much you'll die for it here?" Roos looked up at him, eyes flat. Snow swirled between them. "I believe in survival," he said. "If you kill me, you make a martyr of me to my men. If you take me captive, you make me a bargaining chip. Either way, you have made yourself every Lannister's enemy and every Freys. Think carefully, bastard king." Jon thought of Robb with spears in him, of Catelyn's throat opening like a fruit. He thought of the flayed men hanging from trees. He thought of winters to come. He hesitated. Then Ghost growled, deep and low, and Ramsay came screaming out of the snow with blood in his eyes and a knife in his hand, aiming for Jon's back. Longclaw moved almost of its own accord. It swept through Ramsay first, the Valyrian edge cutting flesh and mail like cloth. Ramsay's grin froze. His eyes went wide. The top half of him slid from the bottom. Blood steamed on the snow. Roos flinched, just enough. Jon's blade shifted. For a heartbeat, their eyes met again. Then Longclaw punched forward, clean and fast. Roose Bolton died without a sound, the snow drinking his blood as if it had been waiting for it. Silence fell on that part of the field, sudden and ringing. Men stared. "A choice," Luwin had said once. "It comes to that." "Roose Bolton is dead," Jon shouted, voice carrying. "Ramsay Snow is dead. The Freys flee. Any man who still wishes to fight for them can come and taste the steel of Winterfell. Any who would lay down arms and go home may do so. The North is tired of being flayed." For a long moment, no one moved. Then a Bolton man dropped his sword with a clatter. Another followed. A Frey banner fell in the snow, trampled. The tide broke. The battle was not done. Men still died, still bled, but its heart had turned. When it was over, the bar Rolands were red and white and gray, but the flayed man no longer flew over them. The North had chosen for now. In the quiet after, Jon stood on a barrow mound, the wind tugging at his hair, and looked out over the field. Ghost sat beside him, fur-matted. "We won," he said, though it did not taste as sweet as it should. Ghost huffed. "We've killed one enemy," Jon said. "There will be others. There are always others. Lions and krakens and snakes and dead things beyond the wall. This war we started in our own snow." He shook his head. "We've bound a crown to a bastard and nailed it on with blood. The North will carry that scar a long time." But in his mind's eye he saw something else too. The wall, vast and cold. Mance's wildling host moving like ants. Blue eyes opening in the dark. He saw the path from here to there, from barrow mounds to ice. "We finished one war," he said quietly. "We have to end another before it starts." The Northern Civil War had flared and burned fast, a white fire. It left wounds that would take generations to heal. Houses broken, lines severed, grudges minted fresh. But it left something else too. A sense, fragile and new, that the North could choose its own fate. That crowns could be taken and given back. Years later, men would argue about when it began. Some said it was the day Jon Snow rode south from the Wall. Some said it was when he first sat in Ned Stark's chair. Some said it was when Robb Stark raised his sword and men cried king in the North the first time. Some said it was the Red Wedding and no sooner. Jon knew better. It had begun when a boy in black had stood in a rookery under circling ravens and heard his father was dead and his brother a king, and had felt something break and shift inside him. He had been breaking and shifting ever since. When he rode north again, years later, with an army behind him and a crown he had never truly wanted heavy on his brow, the wall loomed ahead as it had the first time. A vast, cold fact. The Night's Watch met him on the southern side, uneasy in their black, the memory of his desertion still in their old men's eyes. "I broke my oath," he told them on the frost-hardened ground before the gate, Ghost at his side and the northern lords arrayed behind him. "I will not pretend otherwise. I have sat a crown I never swore to. I have killed my own. I have started wars." He lifted his head. "But the dead do not care what names we call ourselves. Winter is here. We can settle our scores after, if we live that long. For now, the north stands with the wall." Some of the old men spat at his feet. Some nodded slowly. Some simply turned and began to haul at the chains, raising the gate. The snow fell, soft and indifferent, settling on crown and cloak and black wool alike. Above them all, ravens circled, cawing harshly, as they had the day the news came and Jon Snow first chose to go the wrong way down a long, cold road.